Hello, my name is Yasmin Sultani, and I'm doing my presentation on The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. The scene I'll be analyzing is the final scene in which the narrator finally peels all the wallpaper off the wall and lets loose the woman trapped inside the wallpaper. Before getting into the scene, I just want to get a little bit into some historical background. One of the themes significant in the short story is the theme of hysteria. In the 19th century, it was common to assign nervous disorders or hysteria to women as women's issues. And in the Yellow Wallpaper, the narrator is diagnosed with said disorder by her husband, who is a physician. In this quote, if a physician of high standing and one's own husband assures friends and relatives that there is really nothing the matter with one but temporary nervous depression, a slight hysterical tendency, what is one to do? In this quote, it is evident that the narrator's husband is reducing her illness into something lesser than, into something temporary, something slight. And the narrator has nothing else to do but to go along with it. Our next quote is, John says if I don't pick up faster, he shall send me to Ware Mitchell in the fall. Silas Ware Mitchell was a real-life doctor of nervous diseases. He created the Rest Cure, which is addressed in the Yellow Wallpaper. The Rest Cure was assigning the woman with said hysteria to a few weeks in isolation, bed rest, and a high-calorie diet. Women during the Rest Cure were not allowed to leave bed, sometimes even chained to their beds. The next theme is the conflict of the husband's rationality versus the narrator's need for creativity. It is shown in the story that she is forbidden to work until she is well again. The work that the narrator is referring to is her writing, and even her husband's sister believes that it is the writing which is making her sick. Versus the narrator who thinks that her work and her creativity would do her better. This leads on to our next theme, which is the domestic sphere. The setting of the novel takes place in a nursery, which is a room that the narrator is confined to. The nursery represents a prison-like room, which is a symbol of the narrator's oppression, as a constant reminder of her duty as a woman, as a wife, to clean the house and take care of the children. Although confined to the domestic sphere where the role of a woman is only as wife and mother, the narrator also is not able to assume this identity. This identity is taken away from her because her nurse, Mary, takes care of the baby and acts as the mother. Meanwhile, her husband's sister, Jenny, takes the identity of a wife, cleaning the house and being a perfect and enthusiastic housekeeper. This leads to a loss of identity for the narrator. Finally, we get to the symbol of the wallpaper. Wallpaper, which is usually a feminine floral decoration, is the symbol of female imprisonment in the Yellow Wallpaper. The narrator is confined and imprisoned to the domestic sphere just as she is imprisoned in the room with the wallpaper. The narrator has no outlet for her creativity as her writing has been forbidden by her husband. As so, she uses her literary imagination and creativity to scrutinize and overanalyze the wallpaper. She becomes obsessed with the designs on the wallpaper, which appear different to her at different times, sometimes showing up Romanesque, and other times horrible, great slanting waves. By the final scene, she becomes convinced that there is a woman trapped inside the wallpaper, which she identifies with. Finally, we get to the final scene and the woman in the wallpaper. Once she strips off the wallpaper to free the woman trapped inside, she realizes that the connection she felt from the wallpaper from the beginning was really the narrator's unconscious, which was imprisoned by her husband in society. She wonders if all the women came out of the wallpaper as she did, and when her husband finally breaks into the room where she locked herself into, accuses him of trapping and imprisoning her inside the wallpaper in the first place. As the yellow wallpaper represents imprisonment by patriarchal gender roles, the woman inside the wallpaper represents said women, such as the narrator, being oppressed by men in male society. The woman emerging from the wallpaper represents a new kind of woman, a woman whose mind is free, freedom enjoyed without the rigid expectations of the domestic sphere. The strong imagery of the narrator at the end of the story, crawling around on the floor, represents the insanity that women deal with in the domestic sphere, facing society's roles and men's expectations of them. The discussion questions I have included are: first, why do you think it is important and included in the story that the narrator's husband would not let her switch rooms? My second question is, what do you think is the connection between the closeness in timing of the birth of the narrator's child and the onset of hysteria or nervous depression that she faces? That is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed, and here is my works cited of all the sources I used.